everyone. Cubone is a very rare sight in GSCNU. This might sound like the most obvious sentence of all time, but Cubone does have a niche in GSCNU and it is viable. It's just that its niche is very specialised. Cubone's stats are god awful. Aside from defense, none of Cubone's base stats go over 50. It's incredibly slow, frail on the special side, and has a low attack stat. Cubone does have a fine enough move pool, but its stats are too awful to salvage anything. That is, until you glance at the item Thick Club. Thick Club is basically the signature item of Cubone and Marowak. If the item is held by them, and only them, their attack stat is doubled. With Thick Club in hand, Cubone's attack stat jumps from a meager 198 to a staggering 396. That is the highest attack stat in all of GSCNU, and a higher attack stat than Tyranitar and Dragonite. Cubone hits like a bulldozer when it holds Thick Club. Cubone can boost itself even further by using Sword Stance. After a Sword Stance, there are few Pokemon that Cubone doesn't instantly destroy. When using Sword Stance Cubone, don't use Sword Stance more than once, because your attack stat overflows and you deal very little damage. Cubone's ground typing grants a Stab Earthquake, which hits Pokemon like Weezing, Chinchou, Ninetales, Magmar, Sudowoodo, and Graveler for super effective damage, and not many Pokemon resist it. Rock Slide complements Earthquake beautifully, with it demolishing the flying types that avoid Earthquake. Now, while all this sounds great, Cubone still has garbage defenses and speed. How do you turn it into a consistent threat? It's simple, you pass agility to it. Cubone is the premier agility recipient in GSCNU. At plus 2 speed, Cubone outspeeds every Pokemon except Dugtrio, and at plus 2 attack, it one-hit KOs a majority of the tier. If Cubone receives an agility from Ledyon, Farfetch'd or Ariados, and it manages to get that Sword Stance off, the game is likely over. Pokemon like Wigglytuff and Kingler can survive a plus 2 Earthquake, but they need to be in perfect condition to do so, and they don't KO Cubone back. Cubone is the most dangerous agility recipient in the whole metagame. Cubone uses Substitute as its last move slot. Substitute lets Cubone avoid being KO'd by Explosion and self-destruct users like Sudowoodo, Graveler, Weezing, and Pineco. These Pokemon will try to explode Cubone, so Substitute is very helpful. Substitute also lets you dodge Sunspore from Gloom and Execute. Also, while Cubone's stats are bad, its defense is pretty good. Cubone can take hits from physical attackers like Stantler and Dugtrio if needed. It also has a 49% chance to survive Pineco's explosion. Cubone is also resistant to poison moves and immune to electric ones. Now, let's look at Cubone's partners. Since Cubone is exclusively used as an agility recipient, an agility passer is a mandatory teammate. Ledyon and Farfetch'd are the premier agility pass users, but Ariados can pass agility if needed. Ledyon is a particularly good partner since it can set up Light Screen and pass barrier. These can help Cubone set up a Sword Stance in situations where it might struggle to. Farfetch'd can pass Sword Stance to Cubone if needed, negating the need for Cubone to set up. All of the relevant agility pass users have type synergy with Cubone. Ledyon, Farfetch'd, and Ariados are weak to rock moves, so if your opponent tries to threaten them with a rock type, you pass the Cubone. If your opponent sends out an electric type to threaten Ledyon and Farfetch'd, you can pass the Cubone. Dragonair is commonly seen on the same team as Cubone, since it can set up Light Screen or Reflect to support the agility pass users and Cubone itself. Stantler is also seen alongside Cubone as a secondary agility recipient. In certain situations, it is better to pass to Stantler than Cubone, as Stantler lacks weaknesses to water and ice. If a Pokemon is commonly used on agility pass teams, it is commonly seen with Cubone. Weezing is good on agility pass teams as a Primeape check. It can also generate momentum with Explosion. Bellydrum Lickitung is sometimes seen as a third agility pass recipient. Cubone has a fine niche in GSCNU. It is the most dangerous Pokemon in the entire metagame when passed in agility. It can't do anything beyond that though. Cubone's viability is entirely dependent on the viability of Agility Pass, and Agility Pass teams aren't that great in GSCNU. They can win games, but they struggle in the fast-paced metagame. These teams really struggle against threats like Statler, Wigglytuff, Fearow, Dugtrio, Weezing, and Fire types. Agility Pass teams have to use Ledyon and Farfetch for Agility Pass, and neither Pokemon is particularly bulky. Ledyon can't even deal damage itself. Baton Pass teams are inherently fishy, and GSCNU is no exception. Cubone itself has hard special bulk and weaknesses to water and ice. This can make it difficult for it to set up. It also has no longevity. Cubone needs Thick Club to function, so you can't run leftovers on it. Cubone only works in a niche, matchup fishy playstyle. Outside of Agility Pass teams, Cubone is worthless. Its speed and special defense are too bad for it to work. It's entirely outclassed as a Swords Dance user by Kingler, who has much better stats and the ability to hold leftovers. Cubone is a highly specialized Pokemon in GSCNU. That being said, there is nothing scarier than a +2 speed, +2 attack Cubone. If you don't respect Agility Pass teams, then you might find your whole team being swept away by Cubone.